Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're moving past the theory, past the planning, and right into the heart of where things get done. We're doing a deep dive into the one process from the PMBOK guide that really separates the projects that succeed from the ones that don't: direct and manage project work. This, my friends, is where the plan meets reality. So we're zeroing in on process 4.3, direct and manage project work. If you think of project planning like drawing up the detailed blueprints for a skyscraper, this process is the moment the crew actually shows up, picks up their tools, and starts pouring that foundation. It's all about turning those carefully laid plans into real, tangible results. Now, the official PMBOK definition here is so important because it points to two very distinct and equally critical jobs. First, you have leading and performing the work, just getting it done according to the plan. But second, and this is key, it's also about implementing approved changes. This tells you right away that execution is not about blindly following a document. It's a dynamic, living process of managing both the plan and the inevitable changes that come along with it. So why is this one process so incredibly important? Well, because the whole point of a project isn't just to be busy, right? It's to get a successful outcome. This process is like the central command center for the entire project, coordinating all the moving parts. Its real job is to steer the project toward its goals and, as the guide says, fundamentally boost the chances of success. Okay, here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, we'll picture the project's engine room to get our heads in the right space. Then, we'll talk about the fuel for that engine, the inputs. After that, we'll see how the machine actually runs, the tools and techniques. Then we'll look at what it produces, the outputs. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about what it means to run this engine with real intelligence. So, let's step into that engine room. I want you to imagine your project is this huge ship on a long journey. This process, direct and manage project work, is the core of that ship. It's the loud, humming, active center where all those abstract plans get converted into pure kinetic energy and forward momentum. Yeah, it can get a little chaotic in there, but this is exactly what drives the whole thing forward. To really get our arms around how this engine works, we're going to use a super simple but really powerful framework: inputs, work, and outputs. Seriously, just think of a factory assembly line. You feed it raw materials, those are the inputs. You use tools and skilled people to do the work, and out the other end comes a finished product and some performance data. Those are the outputs. This simple model is going to be our guide through the whole process. Right. An engine can't run on empty. And for our project engine, the fuel comes in the form of inputs. These are all the authorized documents and plans that basically give the project team the green light to start doing the work. Without these specific inputs, that engine room just stays dark and silent. So the PMBOK guide points to a few essential ingredients that fuel this process. You've got the big ones, the project management plan and approved change requests, but you also have these contextual factors. There's enterprise environmental factors, or EEFs. That's the stuff you can't control, like regulations or market conditions. And there are organizational process assets, or OPAs. That's your company's internal library of templates, policies, and past lessons. For now, though, we're going to focus on the two inputs that directly drive the day-to-day work. Okay, input number one, and it's the big one: the project management plan. Look, this is not just some document you create and then file away. It is your master blueprint. It's the single source of truth that tells you not just what you're supposed to do, but how you're supposed to do it. Every single action your team takes should trace back to this plan. A solid plan is truly the foundation of a well-executed project. The second absolutely critical input is approved change requests. Why? Because, let's be honest, no project plan ever survives contact with reality completely intact. These requests, which come out of the formal change control process, are your authorized instructions to adapt. This is how you manage the evolution of the project, making sure that change leads to improvement, not just chaos. All right, so our engine is fueled up with plans and approved changes. It's time to see how this thing actually runs. We're now looking at the tools and techniques, the work part of our model. This is all about the how. It's that beautiful marriage of human skill and systematic processes that turns those inputs into valuable outputs. The PMBOK guide highlights this awesome synergy between people and systems. On one side, you've got expert judgment. That's the irreplaceable knowledge and experience of your team. On the other, you have the Project Management Information System, or PMIS, the software and tools that help manage everything. Think about it. Your PMIS can track a schedule delayed down to the hour.
but it takes an expert engineer's judgment to look at that delay and realize it's because of unexpected soil conditions. Real execution excellence lives right at the intersection of powerful systems and brilliant human insight.
And the third key technique? Meetings. I know, a lot of us can't stand them, but in a formal project, they are a critical tool for execution. The purpose isn't just to talk, it's to actively manage the work. This is where you review status, you solve problems, you make decisions that keep things moving, and you make sure everyone is on the same page. A well-run meeting is a powerful driver of progress. So the engine's been fueled, it's running at full steam. What's actually coming out the other end? We're now turning to the outputs. This is the whole reason we're doing any of this, to create the tangible results the project was designed for, and to generate the raw data that tells us how we're doing.
The number one output is, of course, the deliverables. The PMBOK calls this any unique and verifiable product, result, or capability. And that word verifiable is absolutely critical. It means you can actually inspect it against the requirements. Whether it's software, a building, or a report, the deliverable is the tangible value you are creating. It's why the project exists in the first place.
Now, this brings up a point that trips up a lot of project managers: the difference between data and information. See, this execution process produces work performance data, just raw, unanalyzed facts. Things like task A finished on May 5th, or we found 3 defects. This raw data then gets fed into the monitoring and controlling processes, where it gets analyzed and put into context to become work performance information, like we are now 2 weeks behind schedule. It's a crucial distinction. And this is where it all comes together in a beautiful feedback loop. Notice the flow here. The outputs of this process are not the end of the line. The deliverables you produce, they become inputs for the control quality process. The raw work performance data you generate, it feeds almost every single one of the controlling processes. And when you find issues during that analysis, well, that often generates change requests, which loop all the way back to the beginning to get approved and implemented. It's this continuous cycle of doing and checking. Okay, so we've looked at the fuel for the engine, how the machine runs, and what it produces. In this last section, let's put it all together and talk about what it really means to execute with intelligence, to go from being just a task manager to being a true strategic leader. And that brings us to the most fundamental question of all. After all this process, all these documents, all this structure, what is the actual point? I mean, it's not just about being busy or checking boxes off a list, is it? The ultimate goal is actually very simple. It's to create value. This process is the bridge that connects the strategic vision in your plan to the tangible reality of a finished product. And success means you built that bridge both efficiently, without wasting time and money, and effectively, by actually hitting your goals and delivering the benefits you promised. So I want to leave you with this question to think about for your own projects. Is your execution phase a well-oiled machine that just consistently cranks out value? Or is it a source of friction, confusion, and rework? Because the principles in the PMBOK guide suggest that the answer almost always comes down to how well you direct and manage the work.